tell you his name in a minute, was head of Dawa, and the whole structure that they had was European, and everybody that they was talking to was black. So this is kind of ridiculous. I mean, man, y'all be finally they got Ihsan Bagby to take up some of the slack, but he went to the University of Cairo in Egypt. So I mean that kind of lets you know. Verily, those who plight their allegiance to the hand of Allah is over their hands. Then anyone who violates his oath of allegiance does so to the harm of his own soul. And anyone who fulfills what he is covenanted with Allah, Allah will soon grant him a great reward. So this is just talking about, again, allegiance should be one given to one who deserves leadership, let's call him a muttaqi leader. That's one of the words Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui always used. Muttaqi leadership, that is leadership that has taqwa. In the early days of Islam, when the Prophet ﷺ passed, everybody gave Bey'ah to Abu Bakr Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, then to Uthman, and then to Ali, radiallahu anhum. Yeah, right. Later on, our old friend, I don't want to play with it. The people went bad. They made the thing hereditary. I'm not going to go through that whole part because our part is about Bey'ah and leadership, not about what happened and the divisions. So we talked about the first pledge. We talked about the pledge to defend the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We talked about the second Aqaba. Shortly thereafter, the Hijrah, the migration of the believers from Mecca to Al-Medina. Remember, before all the structure of unity was based on tribe. You're part of a tribe, you're part of a clan, that's it. And in each tribe had clans, like if you would go back, and one of the books I have, it traces, say, let's take the Sahaba. The Sahaba, they had one common ancestor, usually about 6 or 7 stages back. All of them, because they were part of the same tribe, but they had different clans. You go back far enough, you know what I mean? Everybody, common ancestor. It was like that in the whole of Mecca. Okay. So the big thing was that this Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was given a certain power and authority over the leadership of affairs, because they needed someone to help them have unity. Aus and Khazraj, they'd been fighting each other didn't nobody even remember when it got started. It was 120 years they've been fighting. Just to clarify one fact, a Yahud walked by the Masjid and saw all the Muslims just happy and getting, and he walked in and he reminded them, hey, so-and-so killed your uncle, so-and-so. Pretty soon, when the Prophet came in, everybody was arguing. He said, this is Jahiliyyah. The Yahud couldn't stand to see all of them. And he reminded them of their history in Jahiliyyah. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that, what you're doing now, is jahiliyyah. Okay. So Bey'ah is for instance, like for us, technically we still have Bey'ah, but it's very light. And I'll tell you why, because we want people to do everything kind of voluntarily and not be bound, and I'll get to why. The good pleasure, Allah's good pleasure, was on the believers when they swore allegiance to thee under the tree. He knew what was in their hearts, and he sent down tranquility on them, and he rewarded them with a speedy victory. You know, during the time of Umar, this tree where they took Bey'ah, under the tree, Umar cut it down when he was a caliph, because they was going out. I don't know whether it's rubbing it or hugging it. Technically, they was, they just 3 weeks out of Jahiliyyah where they worshiping inanimate things. So, a tree is something they can get their eyes growing in there. So that was right up their alley. So Umar cut it down, Maybe you should have put a sign on it to just say, don't come around worshiping this thing. This is a tree. Yeah, you should have just put up, this is a tree. It ain't nothing else. Okay. Bey'ah helps with everything. A lot of people are against Bey'ah because Bey'ah means that someone will have leadership and authority. The British hate it, all colonial powers hate Bey'ah. They technically hate Bey'ah, And in fact, the British, they hate all kind of pledges like that. The Mau Mau pledge, shoot, they hated the Mau Mau pledge, because it was similar to this. But they pledged each other to fight. And after the people took power, Jomo Kenyatta, the burning spear, he was in the penitentiary for 9 years, and they brought him out. So maybe he was like Sharpton or Jesse Jackson or something, I don't know. But MZ, see, all these guys were still alive and big when I was there, And if you wanted to see Mau Mau's, when I was there, you'd go out on the highway, they was highway robbers. Just like the brothers that was in the bush in South Africa, shoot, in the mid-90s, they was robbers. And they'd been in the bush, and they'd helped the ANC get power. And sometimes when they get power, the leadership kind of forget about the people who put them there. And they, of course, not everybody, but a lot of people have jobs, usually the top echelon. Okay. So the liberation movement, the resistance movements, Ikhwan al-Muslimin has Bey'ah, Jamaat Islami has Bey'ah. I think technically every strong Islamic group has Bey'ah to leadership. And there's forms of breaking Bey'ah, you can fast for 3 days, you can give something, in charity and stuff like that. It's reported that the Holy Prophet ﷺ once said, I command upon you 5 things. The law has ordered me to do so. They are Jama'ah, that is unity of the group, hearing and obeying. Of course, it's the Amir, Hijrah, and Jihad. So these are things that are, first of all, Jama'ah. Jama'ah, the group. Everything is better in Jama'ah. Prayer is 25 times better, as some hadith say, 27 and others. It's better in Jama'ah. You'll see some of the Muslim groups, you ever see them put them on food on a big platter and they all be around it just digging in like that? There's more blessings, there's more digging in, there's more blessings from Jama'ah, you know. Everything is like that in Islam. The more people in prayer, the better. So, Jama'ah, of course, that's unity of the group. Hearing and obeying. That's one of the reasons I said that we would be doing these things for quite some time to come on a light basis. Why? Well, I'll read it here. Why? So there's hearing and obeying. Of course, that's the Amir. Hijrah and Jihad. These are a big deal right here. Because if you, one of the brothers, I think last week we had to go to some place, and he'd been working, I mean, but I didn't look at it like that. So what? Hell, sometime I drive to California, I do all this stuff. So he was working. With what we're doing, how important is what we're doing? You know what I mean? I mean, that's right? The more of us get out, like we're technically in the physical poorhouse. I think there's about $100, maybe $70 in the kitty. Other than that, that's it. And don't forget, bills keep coming, and there's no income. The only income we got is going out. And we're not going to change. We're not going to sell any property. We're not going to do anything like that. So that means that people who are aware of what's going on, they know, if one person is missing, that might be a whole lot of income, or it might be this, or it might be that. Because that's the system we're using. We're using this system on purpose. Like getting around, no matter what happens, that's what we're going to use. Because we're teaching these people a lesson. What we're doing is teaching them a lesson. We could go to California right now and get in the courts. In fact, that's what they're hoping we do. That's what they was hoping way back. Because their behavior is a mixture of insanity and a present for you. Like double jeopardy. You can't double jeopardy people. Okay, so they triple jeopardy. It was a split. Anyway, without diverting ourselves. So I'm in the court and I'm showing the deed. And the guy, it's a deed on one side and a flyer on the other. And the police is just showing the one side with the flyer on there. And I said, tell him to turn the thing around. And the lawyer didn't do it. So turn it so they can see that there's a deed there. But the guarantee from the lawyer, don't worry, you're gonna win. We're gonna win this case for you. And they kept pleading, please don't you take the witness stand, because I was gonna bring up everything. And so the guarantee is, I'm talking about everybody's in on it. The bailiff, they got a black woman that right there sitting next to me as a bailiff. That's a good idea. Everybody there is in on it, They hold up the court because my son, he come in sweating. After about 2 hours, they waited. they had another recess so he could come. He's never on time. You know, he was supposed to be there, say, around 2 o'clock. He got there around 3:30 or 4, something like that, late. Well, he was supposed to be there at 1 or something. Didn't make a difference. The point I'm making is this thing about concentration of forces and all of that is based on leadership and leadership's ability to coordinate the efforts of the people and give them focus and direction. Right? Without that, that's why they try to keep us all mystified. That's why they don't want no leadership in Islam. That's why they don't want no Negro leadership. Because leadership, even if it's not that good, gives